Welcome back, my dearest. This is the second part of our film dedicated to what to play after the piece's development. So we castled the king, we moved the minor pieces in action, and now we need to improve our pieces. And most often, this can be achieved via pawn breaks. Okay, central pawn breaks that open up the bishop's diagonals. In this position here, straight into business, is that we've got a bishop on b7 that theoretically would be happy, or let's put it, you would be happy if that bishop had a clear diagonal hitting at the white's king's fortress. So how to do that? Well, there is a pawn that just blocks the bishop. If that pawn didn't exist, or if we would push that pawn up, all of a sudden, the diagonal would become more and more obvious. So the move that black needs to play, and now you've got it, is c5. We're activating the bishop. Beautiful stuff here. If they take on c5, we're going to take back with the knight. We have the prospect of rook fd. That's where the white queen is, and it's absolutely great. And if they don't take, hell, we're going to take. So I hope this is clear, and we go for the next exercise. Again, these are not guarantees that if you do the correct pawn breaks, that's it, you've already won. No, that's not a guarantee, but definitely does improve and better your position. Okay, the opponent played rook f to e8. Strangely, they had an opt for the bishop on c8 to go somewhere, like b7, or, I mean, they could have played perhaps some other ideas, but rook f e8. Cool. What do we do? Well, we've got a pawn break again that actually opens up the e for ourselves. And you probably guys understand that e3 to e4 is the best stuff for white to happen here. If they take very well, we're going to take back with the knight. Don't take back with the bishop because that guy is key. So another, maybe I'm biased a little bit. I'm more leaning towards protecting the bishop rather than the knights, because this bishop here looks over to h7, and you never know what kind of stuff might happen after knight plays at some point. You may have some pressure on the h7. So keep the bishop on the board, and if they take, you take back with a knight. Knight takes. Hell, queen takes. And actually, you know what's cool about this one? If they would capture and capture and capture and queen takes, you would have a checkmate threat to which they have to react immediately. If they do something like g6, just saying, or knight f6, then queen could steer over to capturing on c6. So all sorts of very positive connections for white after this pawn break. Next exercise, guys. What to play? Okay, we're looking at two pawns here. Should we push the e or should we push the c? Very important to choose the correct pawn for breaking in the center and challenging white's solid pawn center here. Now, this is very bad c5, and I don't like it. Why? Simply because it's the perfect invitation for white to take advantage, planting the knight on b5 and attacking queen and bishop. And you're going to go saving the queen, obviously, and upon doing so, they're going to take your bishop and you take back. You just eliminated yourself, your most precious attacking aggressive bishop. So definitely c5 can and should be discarded. Always don't rush. I always tell the kids at the club, sit on your hands and think about, should I push this guy or should I go this guy? And have a clear understanding as best as you can. So obviously we're talking about the e5 here. We're going to open up the d file where the queen is and our rook is. Everything is very beneficial. If they capture, you're going to take. If they capture, you're going to take with the bishop. All of a sudden, attack c3. All of a sudden, the rook hits the queen. And look how a simple, apparently innocuous pawn's advancement leads to very good stuff for us to having. Awesome. Next scenario, guys. Which pawn do you think we should be playing? Well, our target is on g8, right? And I'm not fully convinced about this one. I don't like it at all. I absolutely don't like it. Whereas c3 to c4, apparently it just ticks all the good boxes for white here. First thing first, I'm activating my very active bishop. Very important. Always strive to get those bishops active. Don't keep them blocked, because if you keep the bishop blocked with the pawn, actually the bishop itself is a bigger pawn. Keep this in mind. So c3 to c4 would be absolutely great here. You activate the bishop. If they capture back, You could take with the knight, for instance, and all of a sudden you notice, guys, the rook is on the same file with your opponent's black's queen. So that's another element that we always have to keep in mind. If our opponent plays the queen to c7, try think for yourselves, can I possibly open up the c file so that my rook is actively hitting the queen? Keep in mind this kind of ideas. I mean, it's simple, but you know, the practicality has to become a habit. So actually we're going to achieve this level of understanding and playing our own games. So let's push now to c4. I'm not sure what black's going to play, but regardless, if they take, I'm going to take. If they don't take, I am going to capture, and I'm going to enjoy the c file. And my queen is very nicely positioned here. Well, you got to pay attention in long term about the trickstery with the pawn moving and then the bishop attacking along this diagonal. Just keep in mind also what your opponent could possibly be playing. So never, ever, my dear friends, never neglect your opponent's chances for counterplay. It doesn't mean to overthink. It doesn't mean to self-hypnotize yourself to not playing what's needed to be played, but always keep an eye on your opponent's responses. And if your attack is stronger, go for it. Don't delay. Okay, what to do here? Good stuff for white is that we've castled the king. We have our pieces almost ideally positioned. Everything's perfect here. Black, on the other hand, had delayed all the important safety measures in regards to their king. They actually need to spend 2-3 tempi to get a king castle. They have to play this, and then they have to play this. So there'll be 2 tempi, right, to castle. But we're not going to sit and wait. We are actually going to do something about, you've got it, opening up the e file. Currently, there is a pawn on the e file, and I don't like that. That pawn shouldn't be there. And that comes in place another concept, my dear friends. If a pawn of yourselves blocks your active battery, potentially battery behind them, give that pawn away, even if it's a sacrifice. As long as you compensate with piece activity, don't be shy to give away on that pawn, whether by trade or by sacrifice. Again, if the compensation is piece activity, very strong piece activity, give away the freaking pawn. That's absolutely fine. So now going up now with e4, I'm not sure what black's going to play, but normally this thing announcing, they better move that king away. But then again, there's no so fabulous good moves here for black. If they were to play some bishop to e7, we're still continuing. Obviously, they know that the e file is going to open, and that's exactly what we have to do. So now they took, and now we take. This is just great stuff for white. You are crushing it. They can't castle now. Oops, they can't castle. Why? Because we captured the bishop. Practically, we just win the game. And more good news. You're having a rook here. Don't keep your rooks in the corners. Get them in the middle of the board or on an open or semi-open file. And D file is an open file. You're going to get rook a to d1. That's an open file. And you've actually threatening a discovered attack on the black queen. As soon as you play the bishop, the queen is under attack. And if they really play horrible moves, you could potentially play bishop to b5 check, and then you attack the king and stuff, because the king's in the middle. Another element here, don't forget to castle that king or do something about its safety, because then you're going to end up exactly like black in this position. King in the center, uncastled, bishop is pinned. Horrible to having this position with your pieces, and very good for the person playing with the white pieces here. Thanks for watching this short video. Share it, please, guys, with friends, with family. Drop me a few comments if you feel like to. Tell me about the next chapter that we should be dedicating another video. And see you on the live stream, guys. This evening, I think I want to cover a little bit of the Norway Chess 2025 later on. So see you on the live stream. Thanks.